Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for a brand new edition of 10 Years a Doctor Who Fan. So if you've not watched 10 Years a Doctor Who Fan before, here's a quick summary of what this series is about. Well, I will have been a fan for 10 years next year in 2018, and basically these videos just look back at 1 year in focus, looking at the merchandise that year, the episodes, all the stuff that was going on in that year for Doctor Who, but also in my life, and combining the two and looking at my experience of Doctor Who in that year. So this time I'm looking at 2011. 2011 was an interesting year for Doctor Who, and for me really, because, well, let's just start off with Series 6, I guess. Series 6 often is slated by fans. I kind of fall culprit to this myself. If you watch my latest video about ranking New Who, Series 6 is fairly low on that list. It's not regarded that highly by fans. But I must admit that at the time, I was completely enthralled by the whole split series thing. There was the thrill of a season opener, the first two-part one we'd ever had, then a mid-season finale, and then another season opener in the summer, and another finale in the autumn. So it's like you're getting two for the price of one, really. And I don't think I much minded at the time, actually, that the series wasn't 13 episodes long. In hindsight, it kind of limited the story arc a bit, I think. It limited the stories that could be told because you were telling them over a shorter run of episodes. Although having said that, I think particularly in part 1 of Series 6, Moffat achieves that very well with the whole thing about the gangers, Ganger Amy, leading up to A Good Man Goes to War, which was an epic mid-season finale, and a great place to end that run of 7 episodes. There was quite a big thing to start with the two-part season opener, because there was a whole thing about, oh, someone's going to die, would it be the Doctor, Amy, Rory, or River? And actually, me at the time, I always thought it was going to be River, because we'd seen her die already in the library, but then again, it's Moffat Doctor Who, she might die again, die earlier, and that would cause a massive time paradox thing. But no, it turned out to be the Doctor. I remember actually that just before this episode, the week leading up to The Impossible Astronaut, they actually leaked it. They posted some pictures, some promotional images of the 11th Doctor regenerating at Lake Silencio. And that was just like, you know, what the hell moment, because it was basically a massive spoiler. But I suppose it's weird to think that back then, at that time, we didn't know that the Doctor was going to die, and that the whole series was going to revolve around that one moment, that one device, that was going to form the series story arc, basically. I remember watching A Good Man Goes to War vividly for the first time, making quite a big thing about it, like a mid-season finale party with my family, and yeah, watching that. In fact, actually, this reminds me, I guessed that River Song was Amy and Rory's daughter, even from the end of The Day of the Moon. From that episode, when you see the little girl regenerating, I was like, yep, right, that is River Song, there's a link there. I think Stephen Moffat himself has even said, it's not hard, you've got a mysterious little girl, a mysterious baby, a mysterious woman in the form of River Song, there's got to be some kind of link between them. Oh hey, what if they're the same person? I mean, that arc about who is River Song, yes, I think it was pretty easy to work it out. I don't think it was much of a surprise, I have to admit, by the transmission of A Good Man Goes to War, that she would actually turn out to be Amy and Rory's baby, especially with that preview clip of her going to Stormcage. No, she doesn't go to Stormcage, she's there all the time. It's Rory visiting her at Stormcage, and she says, no, I can't join the Doctor's gang that's going to break into Demon's Run because of stuff. And I was like, yep, she can't go there because she's already there as Melody Pond. I've got it all worked out in my head. It was easy to work out, but I suppose like any good story arc, the foundations are there, the groundwork is there for the viewer to pick up on those aspects and put them together in their heads and have it worked out by the time the finale or mid-season finale comes. I still appreciated it as a story arc, though. I didn't rubbish it. I didn't think, oh, this is awful just because I've guessed it. It was more about the thrill of working it out, because Series 6 is one massive puzzle box in terms of the story arc, and that kind of added to the viewing experience. It kind of added to that immersive feel of following the Doctor on these adventures and following the companions as they try and battle the Doctor's forthcoming death. So overall, I have great memories of watching this series live, even Series 6 Part 2. Let's Kill Hitler at the time, I wasn't too fussed about. The same for the Wedding River Song, really. Although I suppose I sort of saw the Tesseract thing coming. Although then again, actually, we all thought it was going to be the Ganger Doctor at one point that was going to take the Doctor's place at Lake Silencio. I did think it was a little bit of a cop-out when Moffat had said at the start of the year, oh, it's not going to be a clone Doctor, it's not going to be the Ganger Doctor replacing the real Doctor. And then essentially it does turn out to be a clone of the Doctor in the form of the Tesseract. It was a little bit of a cop-out. I mean, I think if it had been a Ganger, it would have tied the whole series together in a better way, because the Tesseract was only introduced in kind of halfway through the series in Let's Kill Hitler. So it feels like the overarching narrative stretching back to the season opener, it doesn't quite have the same effect, if you get what I mean. That Series 6 is one massive story, one massive entity. But yeah, I wasn't too fussed at the time. I quite enjoyed Series 6, to be honest. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about the matter. I mean, in hindsight, it's not the best series. I think behind the scenes, Moffat must have been incredibly busy with Sherlock and other stuff, and as a consequence, the overarching arc does just suffer a little bit. It's not quite 100% secure, really. There are little gaps and little inadequacies and tiny bits that don't quite go together and don't quite make sense. But overall, Series 6 isn't too bad, and especially at the time, I thought it was pretty damn amazing. So let's now talk about the merchandise that came out in this year. For me, it was a big year in terms of merchandise, and a big year in terms of actually forming a Doctor Who collection as opposed to just picking up random bits here and there. I mean, there was the Toy Fair in January 2011, the first one that I have memories of, and of course that's when they launched character building. All the prototypes of that were there, all the photos of the first set and the 11 Doctors set. And oh my god, I mean, character building in 2011 was just brilliant. It was really, really great. I so enjoyed collecting all the figures and the sets that year, because it was like Lego Doctor Who, but not. But I didn't mind at the time, that they were slightly cheaper plastics. Although having said that, I like the funkier, slightly more individualistic design of the figures. But no, for all intents and purposes, this was Lego Doctor Who. So I was just over the moon to be able to build my favourite locations and characters and stuff out of what was essentially Lego character building. Yeah, I remember ordering the TARDIS set with Amy and the Doctor, and it was the Dalek set as well with the White Supreme. They were the first two bits I got, and the collection just grew from there. I remember getting a free micro figure with a Doctor Adventure magazine, I think, over the summer, and that was a Smiler. There was one point actually at my birthday, well, following my birthday, when I went to Toys R Us for the first time in living memory, and got loads of character building. I got the massive TARDIS set with my birthday money, and I spent about 50 quid on that, which was ridiculous looking back, because you can now get it for about a tenner, because it's so crap and falls apart. But hey, I mean, even at the time I thought, this is like 10 quid more expensive than the actual 5-inch TARDIS playset, which was about £40, I think. So there was a little kind of discrepancy there. Why is a smaller, cheaper Lego version more expensive than a 5-inch version? But anyway, the same day I think I got the Dalek set as well, Dalek Factory, and the Doctor with the Stetson figure as well in the 5-inch range. Got all of that with my birthday money, and oh yes, a Doctor Who Monster Invasion tin as well, full of cards. I must talk about those trading cards as well later, because they were a massive thing in this year for me. But keeping on character building for the moment, yeah, got all that stuff. Got the Cyberman Conversion Chamber set later on in the autumn, I think, and most of the figures. The only two figures I never got round to getting originally were the stupid blue shirt 11th Doctor with his jacket off, and the Serene Angel, because they were two figures, two variants, the rare ones in the box, that you could not feel the packets for, because they had exactly the same sculpt as two normal, common variants. The standard 11th Doctor, in his red shirt and bow tie, and the Weeping Angel with the screaming face. So, I mean, on countless occasions I tried to feel my way around the packets to get the rare ones, but you couldn't do that with those figures, with the initial wave, because they were the same sculpt, so that was quite annoying. But in years since, I've picked them up on eBay, so it's alright. But yeah, very annoying at the time. But basically in that first year I got the whole range, all the figures, the sets. I think I got the 11 Doctors sets, possibly in 2012, maybe in 2011, I'm not quite sure on that one. I got that one for about £10 actually, in Wilkinson's. They had some kind of Christmas half price thing where all the toys were half price, and it retailed at £20 and it was £10 because of this offer, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll happily pick that up, thank you very much. Got 11 Doctors for £10. But yeah, character building, brilliant range. Have such fond memories of kind of playing with those figures and building up a collection, and I'll no doubt talk about them more in my future videos about 2012 and 13 and 14. There are a few things that I mentioned there that I just want to pick up on further. Let's talk 5-inch figures for a bit. Didn't get that many this year actually, but there was definitely the Doctor and Stetson that I got with my birthday money. And before that actually, for my birthday, I got the Junk TARDIS playset. I will admit there was a sort of encouragement on my part, a gentle nudging from my parents to go and pick up the Argos stuff that I'd reserved for my own birthday. Well, because like I say, at this point, given the amount of stuff that I was accumulating in my collection, I didn't want to get any duplicates or anything like that. Wanted to try and avoid that. So it was, it's quite common for me to kind of nudge my parents in the right direction at birthdays and Christmas as to what sort of stuff I was missing and needed. I think apart from that, I only got a pink-faced silent figure in that year, so not much in terms of the 5-inch range, but I suppose that was because I was spending all my pocket money on character building, really, because that was the really big thing in that year, the main thing. The 5-inch range was sort of in decline, and I suppose I sort of saw this, and sort of saw the end of the range coming at the time, but perhaps not quite so much as I do now in hindsight, because it had followed a massive range of figures for Series 5 in 2010, and in my personal opinion, I just think they slightly overdid it in terms of Series 5 figures in 2010, and that left a lot of peg-warmer figures like Francesco the Vampire, or Bracewell, or Hawthorne the Winder, and then they could only make lots of variants in 2011, not many new sculpts, have to be said, and that left character in a bit of a sticky situation, I think. But I mean, like I say, it's great that we had character building to keep us going in the interim as the 5-inch figures were fading out, and that the whole range wasn't just dying, there was that instead to spend your pocket money on. And let's also just spare a moment to talk about Doctor Who Monster Invasion. Wow, this was the biggest card range, I think, in my time as a fan, certainly from my perspective, from my experience. I think it was the equivalent, really, of Battles in Time for the slightly later generation, because you had multiple sets, about 3 sets, and the magazine that came with it, or rather the other way around, the cards came with the magazine, but you had that alongside the trading cards. And I just loved collecting them, I really did. Such fond memories of collecting the cards and the magazine each fortnight. I don't really remember playing anybody with the cards, although I did kind of encourage my brother and sister to collect them as well, so I could play with them occasionally and swap them with them. I swapped them with a few other people as well. I think I do have a practically comprehensive collection of those cards, every card in the set. In fact, I even got the Infinite in the first set, the lenticular card with the silent and his lightning hands. It must have been about October, half term, I think, this year, actually. It's all coming back now. And we were on a family holiday in the Lake District, and I think I was in search of the latest Doctor Who Monster Invasion magazine. It was about that time, every fortnight when it was coming out. So I went down to W.H. Smith's, we parked the car somewhere up the road, and I walked down, and I think my parents instructed me to get a packet of trading cards for my brother and sister as well, so that they didn't feel left out. So there I was, going down to W.H. Smith's, picked up the 2 trading card packets and the magazine, and came back to the car. And we all opened our stuff, and there was my sister Martha, on my left I think, opened her packet, and there it was, the Infinite card. And yeah, that was pretty surreal at the time. I mean, it was 1 in 1,000. I suppose, in hindsight, it might not have been quite as rare as it was made out to be, but still, that was the rarest card in the set. And there was my sister, who was, 3 or 4 years old at the time, and she just got it like that. Yeah, it was strange. I did actually have to kind of fight with her to keep it safe after that in the months and weeks that followed, because she was only about 3 years old. She did have a habit of not quite keeping things safe and having a slightly untidy room, shall we say. She still does, really. But yeah, my sister got the Infinite card. That's my claim to fame from this year. A very surreal experience at the time, and a weird thought, definitely. But Monster Invasion as a whole, let's just go back to that. It was just great. A great set of cards. And like I say, just loved collecting them. Loved the website as well that went with them. The games that you could get, the downloadable content, the wallpapers, icons, all that stuff. I wish that website was still available to play those games, because they were just brilliant. Really, really great fun. I must have spent so many hours just on that website and with the cards, with the magazines. Fond, fond memories indeed. Now, in the comments section of my last 10 years Doctor Who fan video, someone pointed out that I forgot to talk about the Sarah Jane Adventures again. So I'm sorry about that, but to make up for it, in this one I'm going to be talking about Series 4 and 5 very briefly. Series 4 in particular was just a great run. It was really when the show was in its prime, just top-notch stories. A great team of recurring cast members. You had Sarah Jane, Clyde and Rani. There was something just magical about that team. And then Luke occasionally helping out as well, and Skye in Series 5. And even though it was kind of felt that because the show was a product of the RTD era, it was sort of kind of clinging on, shall we say, because there weren't that many links to the 11th Doctor, apart from him turning up in Death of the Doctor in 2010. But it still worked. It was still a great show. The kids still loved it. I still loved it. And like I say, around this time was when the show was really in its prime, producing some of the best stories that it ever made, really. Of course, 2011 as well was the year that we found out, very sadly, that Elizabeth Sladen had passed away. It was the week before The Impossible Astronaut, I think, around about then, sometime in April. And I just woke up that morning, looked at my, well, the equivalent of my phone, I suppose it would have been an iPod or something, or on the computer. But anyway, somehow I saw the article, and literally my jaw just dropped. Well, it didn't literally drop, but it was that kind of feeling where you were like, what? Whoa, and I had to take a moment and kind of process it. It took me ages to process the fact that the star of one of my favourite TV shows just wasn't around anymore, and that there would be no new episodes. It was just like the Sarah Jane Adventures, nail in the coffin, just, that was it. It had gone. That sense of loss was felt right from the moment that I read that article, and it was devastating, really. It really was. Just so sad for kids all over the UK, I think, of all ages, all viewers of that show, because that show, like I say, it was so popular by this point. It really was in its heyday, and then all of a sudden it just had to end because of this terribly, terribly sad news. So yeah, that was that. I mean, I hadn't seen any of Sarah Jane's classic era episodes from Doctor Who at this point. I only really saw her as the lead character of the Sarah Jane Adventures. That's how I'd fallen in love with that character, not through the Doctor Who route, through, you know, the Sarah Jane Adventures route, through the, I suppose, through a school reunion and the Sarah Jane Adventures following that. So yeah, just devastating. Very, very sad. A great shame as well that Liz passed away at such a young age. She was about 60s, I think. It was just terrible, terrible news, especially for a young child, you know, that was, watching that show. But anyway, let's end this video on a more positive note with Christmas 2011. The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, I have to admit at the time, I did actually quite like that one. I mean, I didn't really hate it, didn't love it ecstatically, but I thought at the time, and still do think, that it was a nice, warm family tale, and that's all you can ask for at Christmas, especially from Doctor Who. I think Doctor Who is exactly the type of show that should be promoting that, and should be promoting the value of family and celebrating mothers in the form of Madge. It was by no means a great sci-fi alien space story, but nevertheless one that I think probably resonated with lots of families across the UK, you know, because Christmas is a time for family. I've never really seen what the massive problem is with this special, I will admit. I get that it's not a big sci-fi tale, as I've said. I get that it's not exactly a riveting Doctor Who adventure, and probably not the most exciting, amazing, grand one. I just kind of see it as a harmless piece of Christmas television, really. And one that I myself absolutely don't mind whatsoever. But by all means, put your thoughts on that in the comments below, and tell me what you think about this very controversial adventure. But apart from the Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, some of the gifts I remember getting this Christmas were the Encyclopedia, the revised edition, the massive thick one with the 11th Doctor, the 10th Doctor and the 9th Doctor on the front. And that was a book that I treasured in the years since. It was kind of my main source of reference for all things Doctor Who, before I'd kind of got into the age of the internet and Googling stuff. That was still a little far off. Yeah, just looking in books instead to do quizzes and crosswords and stuff, and reading about all your favourite Doctor Who characters. There was also the nano recorder that the Doctor uses in Day of the Moon. Got one of them for Christmas and had loads of fun recording stuff, pulling the thing back, recording it and then pressing it into your hand, or however that worked. I've got it upstairs somewhere. I'll fish it out one day and take another look at that. I'm trying to think what else I got as well. I think after Christmas there was a delayed delivery of some stuff from character, because I remember getting the astronaut figure around Christmas/New Year time, and in fact some Series 3 character building micro figures. Because yeah, I'd forgotten actually that they released 2 series worth of micro figures in 2011. Series 2 came out around the autumn time, I think. Totally passed that one by in this video, apologies for that. But I got some of those. I think I also got the Cybermat toy around the first few days of January 2012 as well. But basically that's what I got for Christmas and around the Christmas period that year. And I suppose that draws to a close this edition of 10 Years of Doctor Who Fan. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and please post your comments and thoughts on 2011, on Series 6, on the Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, character building, monster invasion, all of that stuff down in the comments below, and I'd love to hear what you think about all that stuff. I'll be back soon with some more new videos, but as far as this series goes, you can probably expect the 2012 episode to materialise in your subscription boxes around this time next month, probably. I think it probably is going to be a monthly series from now on, really. But yeah, I suppose that's it. So, once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon for some more new videos. Goodbye for now, folks.